We are honored to have in studio today Academy Award-winning actor Chris Cooper and Marianne Leone, a film and television actress of The Sopranos fame, but she's also a screenwriter, essayist, and author. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, yeah.
Today we're here to talk about the documentary film Intelligent Lives. And both of you were executive producers on the film, and Chris, you're also the narrator of the film. Intelligent Lives, according to the director Dan Habib, is a catalyst to transform the label of intellectual disability from a life sentence of isolation to a life of possibility for the most segregated people in America. Now, the most segregated people in America are the people that have either intellectual or physical disabilities. You met Dan Habib through
The Federation for Children with Special Needs.
Okay, so
where he
talk
was
about
being
that.
honored. We have a fund set up there, the Jesse Advocacy Fund, for low-income parents or parents for whom English is a second language, who need an advocate when they are trying to include their children in the school.
And
We met Dan and his family about 10 years ago through Federation. It was I think it was a little awards event. And over the years, Dan would take his family down to Cape, you know, in the summer.
Yeah.
And always, year after summer, Dan would call on his way back and say, could we, drop by, spend the afternoon around the pool?
yeah.
And it's just exchanging year after year grievances and how our kids have moved along and improved and one step forward, two steps back in some cases.
And watching his son Samuel grow, and he did he's an award-winning documentarian, Dan Habib, who made this film, and he made a film about Samuel when he was little called "Including Samuel," which has played on PBS and elsewhere.
Yeah.
So.
And together, did he contact you about Intelligent Lives?
Yeah, I think he did. Over the years, he did contact me. This was, I was kind of impressed what a long process this documentary took. Several years for him.
We're used to it going much faster. When you do a film, it's like you get the film.
These kids are in different parts of the country, and he would have to shoot out 150-mile drive to catch something.
Yep.
And then 3 months later catch something else. But it was
I love how he wove the story of the three that are in, which we'll see the trailer in a minute, how he wove that with your voiceovers that had a lot of the historical information in the background about the entire subject.
It was news to me, and our son had gone through some of that very testing. And I will say that the terminology when we were working with Jess was so antiquated. It sounded like, oh, this is dialogue from the 20s or 30s.
Right. And it's coming every day. It's coming further and further into the light because of things like this. Now, Jesse, A Mother's Story, which is a book that you wrote about your wonderful son Jesse, which is really kind of he's the engine that drives your emotions, your heart, your everything.
Well, Jesse did not have an intellectual disability, but testing has been used to marginalize all people with disabilities and immigrants for 100 years. As Chris points out in the film, 100 years ago when immigrants came here, 79% of Italians, 80% of Jews, and 81% of Russians were deemed to be intellectually inferior because they would hold up a book in English, and then when you couldn't read it, you were intellectually disabled. And kind of the same thing is happening now. And we were interested from this perspective, although the three young adults that Dan follows in this all have intellectual disabilities. And all are living very fulfilled lives.
Absolutely. So why don't we're going to watch the trailer and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Our son Jesse had cerebral palsy. When Jesse was 4, the neurologist told us that he would never be intellectually normal. We fought to have Jesse included in general education.
The IQ test measures a very limited potential of our brain to learn and misses all the other stuff.
Naomi, Micah, and Nair, 3 young adults with disabilities unlocking their potential.
You happy with your tip you made?
Yeah.
You know what you're gonna buy with this?
Cell phone.
I'm getting a 9-degree certificate in disability studies.
Nair is not afraid to freely express himself.
Do you want to go to college?
Yeah.
When people say, why is your school successful? Because we include students with significant disabilities. We don't use IQ tests to inform us at all.
Not long ago, IQ testing was used to fuel a pseudoscience known as eugenics, which called for eliminating the menace of the feeble-minded. Institutions like Willowbrook more closely resembled prisons than schools.
We have to broaden our understanding of what intelligence is. I want my son to go into a world where he's looked at not there as a tall black guy who's acting weird.
Whether it's a police officer or a civilian, you do wonder what's going to happen.
I think because of Naomi's unconditional love for what she does, it's good for everyone.
Are you on Facebook?
No.
Okay.
My parents don't think that's safe.
What do you remember most about today?
Be ourselves.
Be ourselves.
Can any attempt to measure intelligence predict a person's value or ability to contribute meaningfully to the world?
I'm telling you, I watched that a number of times, and what struck me was how much I don't know, how much I need to be educated, and how inspired I was by not only the 3 that they followed in the film, who were just a riot, all 3 of them, but the families and the caretakers and the schools and everything that works together.
Right.
For these children, and they're all or young adults, and they're all individual. No one's cookie cutter.
Right, right.
And I think Dan will give examples that the comeback from that is, well, this is going to be so expensive, it's going to cost so much money. And Dan has one particular story in the Deep South. I believe he had a community that worked beautifully, and it didn't cost that much money.
Right.
No, they were fully included. And
Right. Yeah. There's a school in here, the Henderson School, that is highlighted in this film, which is just, it's an inclusive school.
Yes.
And it's just, that's their norm.
I met Mr. Henderson, the principal, who was blind, and who
Really?
wrote a book. Yeah, we were on book tour together.
what a
We
riot.
did a book event together, and he was the
Yeah.
the impetus for this.
Yep.
And I think inclusion, it does nothing but benefit us to be with people of differing abilities and from different places. It does nothing but, I think that the kids who went to school with Jesse would tell you that it made a difference to see
absolutely.
someone differently abled learning. It impacted their lives, and it made a difference.
And I'm sure they were invested in everything that Jesse succeeded in. Was a success for them too.
Well, I mean, he wasn't there for them. He was there for himself to
Sure.
learn. But the side effects of that was that he made friends
Yep.
among the able-bodied, and they took from him and he took from them.
Right.
And it was from his very first little friend that he met, Adam, in first grade, who never, the way kids look at things, I mean, who said to his mother, there's a kid who hates coloring as much as I do, and I want him to come and play with me. And he never mentioned that Jesse was quadriplegic and nonverbal and using a wheelchair.
Nope.
It was about the fact that Jesse didn't like to color either.
Yep.
So
That was their common bond.
so
Yeah.
I thought that was, and I
to
still
realize that Jesse's best friend in grade school, high school, is now a linguistics professor.
Yeah, he's getting his PhD
And they
in
still
language.
and they still stay in touch. Lovely,
Yeah,
lovely.
Oh, that's
folks.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And in the film, there's a lot of historical information in the film, which is really kind of depressing. The way that the feeble-minded, as they
Yeah.
were called, and everything was based on IQ tests. And Rose Kennedy, of the Kennedy clan, was retarded, as they
Right.
put her, and
Right.
she ended up going away to a facility. But John F. Kennedy created a commission on this, and then Eunice Kennedy
Eunice.
Shriver
At
created
Eunice's urging. Eunice
Yeah,
was
yeah.
Eunice
She
was
was
the
the-
total impetus behind all of this. There's a great new book out by my friend Eileen McNamara about Eunice Kennedy,
Yeah.
and you see that she was the driving force behind
Behind the Special Olympics, which-
yeah,
Yep.
and behind this task force.
all of this, right?
All of it.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that people need to understand that I got from this book was how much work, or not work, but how much community you need
Right.
to support the family as well as the person with the either intellectual or physical disability. Talk about the importance of community and how that helped you help Jesse.
It happened to us with Jesse. I find it's hard to explain, find words for it. It happened to us. This was the norm for us,
you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for people looking outside, it's like, oh, the adjustments you have to make. Blah, blah. Well, once you got it down, day-to-day activities, this becomes very normal.
It helped that we were an eccentric family and that we're both artists. So I mean, obviously we're traveling a lot.
Yep.
We're doing, and Jesse just became another eccentric part of our eccentric family.
Right.
And
But I mean, as far as getting him into the school system,
oh well, that was a battle.
which was a battle.
yeah.
That was a
And
battle.
that was where the community came together, and that's where
That's
people, you and people coexisted together to create this movement to say this is not right.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it was very difficult to get together with the other parents, and I will never forget. I couldn't get the names of other parents who had kids with disabilities because they cited privacy issues.
Yeah.
But basically, it was a way of dividing us. So I went to the ARC. Which at the time was the Association for Retarded Citizens. And I asked which parents had complained to them about the school system.
Yep.
And I wrote a letter to each one, and I got a room at the library. Libraries are important for community, people.
Yes, they
Very important for community. I got a room at the library where it happened Tom O'Brien, who at the time was our representative, had a little table set up with "I am your representative, come to me," which seems like something out of a fairy tale, but actually happened
Yep.
because he is a good guy who actually took seriously the fact that he represented us, the people.
Yeah.
So the parents a group of parents arrived, and we started exchanging information, and that's when the heat in the room went up, and he asked us what was going on, and he became a champion of ours. He was our first champion.
Yep.
And we determined from that we needed representation on the school board because there was no one on the school board with a child with a disability. So if you're not there, you kind of don't understand what the problems are. And we also said that we would use the press to get
your story out.
To get our
Yeah.
story out.
Yeah.
And it was a long haul to, to work toward that because the special ed director at the time, who shall remain nameless, said, he is no longer the SPED director, said that we should basically pack our kids' bags and send them off to Mass Hospital School. Now, I'm not putting down parents who make this choice, but for us it was not a choice. And Jesse was 6 at the time. We weren't going to pack his bags and send him off. And furthermore, we knew, I was one of these mothers that people eye-rolled about because I knew that Jesse was intelligent, whether or not he was verbal, whether or not he could use physically his body. And finally, when he was tested correctly, he was in the 99th percentile, and he became, once he was included in school, he became an honor roll student.
Yeah.
He became a Latin scholar and
Wrote beautiful
all
poetry.
the rest of it.
Yeah.
But what this film shows is it's not just for kids like Jess, who would be in the 99th percentile. These kids all benefited from being included in society, and society benefited
too.
from having them included. All of us can appreciate Nair's incredible art. Micah is co-teaching with people who want to be in special education, and what better than to have someone with a disability showing you what that's like. And Naomi is in this fantastic group of people at this beauty school, bringing absolute light and joy to everyone she encounters.
Right.
And that in particular, Naomi's story in particular, tells me a more immediate community comes and steps in to to help.
You mean her brother?
Yeah, they
help,
showed
yeah.
the Naomi in the middle, and then all her world and all the circle of people that were safe and good and she
Right.
interacted with, and that was an education right there. I was
Yes.
like, wow.
Yeah.
You don't think about that, but that was necessary
Right.
for Naomi.
Right.
So the movie Intelligent Lives is all over the country. It's I think
Right.
I counted 40 states.
Right.
That
Oh,
it's in.
Dan is tireless.
Yeah.
Tireless. And
So there's going to be a screening at the Regal Cinema in Kingston on the Thursday the 18th
Right.
of October at 7:30 at night, and you're going to be there.
I am.
And it's sold out.
I know.
Yeah, I bought 10 tickets, and I'm giving them to certain people that I want to go there. And what is the whole objective of when people leave that theater? What do you want them to know, to do, to feel, to say?
Well, I think people, the first thing that happens is that people ask us, well, how can I help? And I always say the first thing is to presume competence of people you meet with disabilities. Presume competence and proceed from there. And, I know that there are people who, think that people with disabilities are going to hold their kid back from, I don't know, fast track to Harvard or whatever. It's more important, you want to say to them, it's more important that your child understand differences and comprehend differences and be comfortable with differences for whatever path that they take in life.
Right.
That is much more important than becoming, I don't know, a stock trader.
Yep, or whatever. Yep. So the website, intelligentlives.org, will give you everything you need to know as far as the screenings, where they are, all kinds of additional information and support services. I'm really looking forward to it on the 18th. I'm thrilled that it's sold out, and I'm thrilled that we at PACTV can just be a small part of getting this message out that is so important.
Thank you
and
very
so
much for that.
beautifully spoken in this movie.
Thanks very much.
And can we end with a quote from Jesse?
Please.
He had many quotes. Jesse had many quotes. He was a poet. And one of my favorites is, "Courage is like one ant trying to cross a roaring stream. It may seem impossible, but you have to try." And that's what we all need to do every single day, is try to understand. And please see Intelligent Lives. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Appreciate
And we'll have
it.
you on again.
Thank you.
Okay.